Okay, well, hello everyone, good evening. My name is Mr. Jack. I work for Access American Education. I'm excited to be here for the second rendition of our webinar series. Again, this is part of our virtual USA Counselor website. And tonight we are going to be talking about community colleges. So what we're going to do is give an overview of community colleges. We're going to talk about some of the benefits. We're going to talk about high school completion, which is also a big part of some community colleges. We will talk about the all-important visa process to go to the U.S., specifically related to community colleges. And then we'll wrap up with some factors to consider. Some people, a lot of students here in Vietnam particularly, always ask me about university or community college. Again, it's not an easy answer, but it depends on a lot of circumstances. So I will give you some of the factors to consider when you're trying to decide, should I go to the community college or should I choose the university? So with that, why don't we get started here? Hopefully everyone can see these slides. And again, if you have questions, feel free to type them. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm moving my cursor to this thing on the screen. And if you have questions, please type them in. And at the end of this seminar, webinar, I will do my best to answer the questions. And if I can't answer them, I will follow up with you for sure. So let's get started. Okay, well, let's keep it there. Hopefully you can see this. So first of all, what is a community college? Well, there's several different names for community colleges. One is a junior college, another one is technical college or city college. These are all similar terms for what a community college is. And that really is a two-year public institution which provides a variety of education and grants certificates, diplomas, and a degree. The degree you get in a community college is called an AA, or associate's degree. So a community college is how many years? Two. So let's talk a little bit about community colleges. These are schools that generally are much more affordable than universities. Okay? So you can get a good education at an affordable cost. We'll talk more about this later, because one of the key criteria is in choosing a community college. Is cost the only reason you should choose a community college? Well, no. There's a lot of factors that come into play. Cost is only one of them. If you're just simply looking for the cheapest school, then yeah. But if that was the case, then nobody would be going to Harvard. So cost is only one thing to consider. Again, like we mentioned before, it's 2 years of coursework that's necessary to then ideally transfer to a 4-year institution. I'll try to go slower here. I'm even catching myself, so I'll make sure that I go a little bit slower. But again, an associate's degree is what you get at a community college, and that takes 2 years. A bachelor's degree is what you get in a university. That takes 4 years. You can transfer from a community college to a university. And when you do that, you wipe out the first 2 years. So you can do 2 years at community college, you can do 2 years at university, and you graduate with a bachelor's degree from the university. So it takes 4 years in total. Community colleges have a variety of academic programs to study. You can study healthcare, business, IT, liberal arts, a variety of things. I would say there's pretty much every possible program to study at community college. Um, Often you'll find more career-focused subjects at community colleges too. So you might see something like car or mechanic maintenance or something very specific trade. So that's another thing about community colleges. Small classes with strong personal attention. Yes, this is true. Again, in community colleges, you often find yourself around with a lot of international students who are coming there and trying to get acclimated or adjusted to U.S. culture. So you'll find yourself with small classes and a lot of personal attention. We'll talk more about number 5 later. The entrance requirements are lower for community college. English tests, they don't need an SAT. So score requirements are lower for community college. Like in all schools, really, there's a lot of extracurricular activities, sports organizations, and clubs to join. So, you have a lot of choices when you go to community colleges. These 2+2 programs are what I talked about earlier. So you can do 2 years of study at a community college and then transfer to a university. So, some universities are listed here. Georgetown, where I studied, University of California, Boston University. These are some examples of schools where you can transfer and finish your bachelor's degree. So again, the point is if you start at a community college, there is no negative feeling, okay? Just because it's easier to get into a community college and it's cheaper, and then you transfer to a university like Boston University, at the end of the day, you get a degree from Boston University. A lot of people starting community colleges, most Vietnamese students starting community colleges. There is nothing negative or bad about it. So that's something to really understand. Okay. The last point is, what is conditional admission? What does that mean? Students hear it and see it all the time. Some community colleges have conditional guaranteed admission to certain universities. Therefore, if you go to a community college, they might have a partner agreement with some universities already. Therefore, if you complete 2 years at that community college, you are automatically conditionally guaranteed admittance at one of these partner universities. So, for example, Green River Community College is located in the state of Washington. They have some additional guaranteed admission partnerships with some schools such as San Francisco State University, University of Oregon, Montana State, Central Washington University. So what this means is certain community colleges are linked together with universities. You don't even need to apply to the university. You're conditionally guaranteed admission. It doesn't really mean anything if you want to go to a school that is not linked with a community college. You can still apply there. You can still go there. The point is that some community colleges have these links, and it's just something to consider. That's all. But again, the key message from this slide, I'm talking a lot, I know, is 2 years community college associate's degree, 4 years university bachelor's degree. You can do 2 years at the community college, transfer to the university, and finish your last 2 years at the bachelor's degree. Okay? Where you start does not make a difference where you end. You can start in the community college and end in the university, and all is good. Okay? So what do you need to get into a community college? These are just some typical requirements or documents that you need to study. Transcript in Vietnam is called a học bạ, which is what you get from your high school. Recommendation letter or letters from a teacher, and perhaps one other. TOEFL score. TOEFL, for those of you that don't know, is an English proficiency test. Again, as we said on the last slide, community colleges are lower. Again, a lot of them TOEFL or IELTS being the other English test. TOEFL probably a little bit more common, but a lot of community colleges will take either one, TOEFL or IELTS. A bank statement, which shows that you can actually pay for the school. And how much do you need to have in the bank statement? Well, it depends on how much your school costs. You need to show the first year's tuition and fee, the first year. So community college, we'll talk about the cost later, but typically cheaper. Tuition might range between 7 to 10,000, and with expenses probably another 6 to 8. So in general, you're thinking about $17,000 or $18,000 USD that you need to show in the bank statement. And the application form, the fee, and the personal statement. Often community college is just very simple, very streamlined, often just a one-page application. That's it. The personal statement almost always is on, just explaining why you're interested in our school. Why do you want to study here? How does it fit into your life? What do you want to study? Something simple like that. That's it. It's not difficult. Community college is trying to make the process as easy as possible for you. What is this thing called high school completion? A lot of people ask about this here in Vietnam. What is it? Why is it high school completion? What does that have to do with community colleges? Well, there are a few community colleges where students can complete their AA, their associate's degree, and get a U.S. high school diploma in 2 years. What does that mean? We'll talk more about this in a minute. These community colleges are all located in Washington State, the main city being Seattle. And there's one in New York, Fulton Montgomery Community College. So, what does this mean? A student can typically enter a community college after the 10th grade here in Vietnam, or your home country, wherever you may be, subject to their age. Some schools it's 15 or 16, so they have an age restriction on this. But typically after the 10th grade, you can then go to a community college in the U.S. and do something called high school completion. And what is that? Well, you go to the community college and you study for 2 years, just like what you normally would. After the 2 years, you get a U.S. high school diploma and you get an associate's degree. So at the end of year 12, you will have both these things. So it really speeds up the process for you. Sometimes, but it depends on your English. You may have to take an ESL class or classes, which will add some time to this. Depends on how good your English is. But in general, the last point is these high school completion programs are common for students who want to speed up the process of their U.S. education and get a high school degree. So again, you get a high school diploma and you get an associate's degree. Interesting. Again, these are very common in Washington State. Okay, let's talk about U.S. visa advice. Often getting accepted to community colleges is quite easy. It's not difficult. It's very streamlined. The application is not difficult. But getting the U.S. visa is more difficult. It is. Why? Well, for a number of reasons. I'm going to talk about some of these now. And these are really important. These are questions I get asked all the time here in Vietnam. And hopefully they'll help some of the listeners with their questions. First of all, you need a path or a plan. You have to go into that U.S. visa interview with a goal or a plan. So why are you studying in a community college? What is it going to do for your future career? What are you then going to do when you come back to Vietnam? You need a plan. If you go in there and you don't have any idea why you're going there, then you're not going to pass the visa interview. The first question that you usually ask of all students in the visa interview, usually, the first question, why did you choose this school? Why did you choose Green River Community College? Why did you choose De Anza College? Very, very, very important. You have a reason why. Okay? If you say, well, my aunt told me about it, that is not a good reason. That is fail right there. So you need some reasons why you chose that college. De Anza College, why did you choose that? Well, it's located in Silicon Valley, home to companies like Apple, HP, Google, Facebook. The faculty members at De Anza all have industry experience. What I'm going to the end to do is gain practical experience that I don't have in Vietnam. Vietnam is very focused on theory. So I want to practice what I learn at the end. And then I want to come back to Vietnam and work in an international tech company. Something like that. You need a reason why you chose that college, and that takes some research. Where are you living while you study at this community college? So the choices are something called homestay, where the school sets you up with a local family, which is very, very common. A lot of students here in Vietnam choose to live with their relatives. They say, well, I have an aunt and uncle that live in Houston. I want to live with them. That's why I'm choosing to study at this community college. Or you can live in the dorms. A lot of community colleges don't have dorms. Some do. Some do. But most of them do not. So what do you think is the most difficult of these three situations in terms of getting a visa? Relatives. Why? Well, again, very common here in our office. Students come in and say, oh, I want to study at Santa Ana College in California. Okay. How did you choose that? Well, my aunt and uncle live in Santa Ana. Okay. Who are you going to live with when you study at community college? My aunt and uncle. Okay. Did you apply to any other community colleges? No. That's a recipe for failure right there. Okay? It is very, very difficult. It's possible to live with your relatives when you study community college. Let me say that. You can live with your relatives. It's fine. But I'm saying it is the most difficult in terms of getting a visa. What's the easiest? Well, dorms. I mean, you're there to study. Okay? The point of getting a student visa to go to the U.S. is to study, not to live with your aunt and uncle and hang out with your family. It's to study. So, of course, living in a dorm is great. A homestay, which the school sets up, is also great. Living with your relatives is okay in some cases, but it's tricky, right? Meaning it's the most difficult. And especially when you look at the next question, did you apply to any other community colleges? Did you apply to any other community colleges? If the answer is no, you're in trouble. Okay? If I go out, I just bought a new motorbike. For those of you on the call that are in Vietnam, well, it's not new, it's kind of junky, but it is that a Honda, an airplane. Okay? Did I go out and test the Yamaha Nuvo? Did I test the Suzuki? Yeah, I sure did. I researched other motorbikes before I chose that for it. So it makes no sense to visa officials and the embassies if you say, I chose the answer because my aunt told me about it. Why would you do that for 2 years of your life and a lot of money? You have to research schools. So again, this is important for the visa. English level requirements in the visa interview. People say to me all the time, well, I'm going to go study English in the U.S. at community college. Okay. But you have to go into the visa interview and be able to speak some English. Some, meaning you have to show some level of confidence, some level of English. You need some level of English to get accepted to the school, but not much. But you better go into that visa interview and be able to express yourself in English. Okay, so it's tough because the students that are so-so often fail. And as much as I would love it if people could go to the U.S. and learn English there, it's difficult here in Vietnam. You don't need to be great in English, but you do need to express yourself in a reasonable way. So it's important, and I think people should know that. If you can't speak any English and you think you're going to go to the U.S. and learn it, no, you're not going to get a visa. So that's really, really important. How about, am I too old to study to get a visa and study in community college? Well, it depends. I mean, if you're 30 years old, it's very unlikely. It goes back to the first point. You need a path or a plan. A lot of people come here who already studied university in Vietnam, and then they say, well, I want to go study community college now in the U.S. Sometimes it's possible in certain cases, but in general, it's not really a path. You're going backwards to some degree. So if you've studied at university in Vietnam, you've got to be able to explain to visa officials why going to a community college is helping you on a path. Okay? If it doesn't make sense to them, it's probably not even, it's not clear. It's not a clear path. So you study 3 or 4 years at university in Vietnam, then you want to go back and do 2 years at community college in the U.S., then you want to go to another university in the U.S. It doesn't really make sense. In some cases it might. If you're learning a trade or a specific skill, sure. But in general, it better be along a path. Okay? The last question, I talked about this before, but is it okay if I live with my aunt and uncle or grandparents while I study at community college? In general, yes, but it goes along with some of the other things that I talked about. It's not the easiest situation to get your visa. The dorms or the homestay would be a lot easier, but it is possible to do this. But again, it goes along with why you chose the community college. Did you apply to other community colleges? Do you have a path? How was your English? So it's sort of a package of things that you need for the U.S. visa. These are the most important questions that you need to know in getting a U.S. visa. Again, getting accepted to a community college is quite simple. It's quite simple. It's one page. It's an application. Getting a visa is a lot more difficult. That's the trick. I mean, that's the tough part. Community colleges are generally easier to get into, but getting a visa is tougher. So that's the message here. It's not impossible at all, but it takes some practice, and you need to practice with somebody who knows what they're doing. I do visa practice all day long. This time of year, May, June, and a little bit in July, I probably speak with 20 kids a week in terms of practicing over and over again for the visa. The more you practice, the better you are in English, the more confident you are, the more you know the answers to these questions, and you have a very clear story, the better chance you have of getting a visa. You really often only have one chance. It is possible if you fail, if something material changes in your second go-around, but in general, the way to think of it is you've got one chance to do it right. So make sure that you work with somebody who knows what they're doing in regards to the U.S. visa. And we do. So, very important slide, community college or university. I get asked this all the time. Should I study at community college or university? And the answer is, I have no idea. It depends on you. But here are some things you should consider. Cost, we talked about before. Community colleges are considerably cheaper than universities. Okay? And that makes a big difference to some people. But the second one is very important too, your academic achievement to date. So if you are at a top high school and your grade point average in Vietnam is 9.2, and you've got 7.5 on the IELTS or 96 on the TOEFL, it doesn't really make sense for you to study in community college because your level of achievement makes you belong in a university, and you can often get a scholarship for university. Community colleges don't normally have scholarships at all, but they're quite a bit cheaper. So that's the trade-off. But again, the second point here is your academic achievement helps you where you belong. So if you're a really, really top student, you have great English and great grades, and you went to a really good high school, you want to be at a level where you belong. So community college is for a little bit lower level student who wants to get comfortable in the U.S., wants to get more confident in English, get used to the culture in the U.S. So you have to consider where you fit. It's not only cost, it's where you fit. Like I just said, English language ability is often one of these factors. So again, if your English is so-so and you don't feel confident yet to get into the university environment, community college is probably a good fit for you. Desired start date. I have a lot of students coming in right now saying, I want to study in university. Well, in most cases, it's too late. Community colleges are a lot more flexible. You can apply now and start studying in September. So in general, they often have rolling admission. They have 4 intakes per year at community college, so you have a lot more flexibility. But it's easier to start in any different time of year that you want. So that's an important factor for some people. Again, as we talked about, admission tests and results. You don't need a lot of tests, or you don't need high results to get into community college. You do need an English proficiency test, hopefully of IELTS, but not much else than that. And the results could be very low. For example, Foothill De Anza, located in San Jose, the TOEFL requirement is 500 on the papers or 61 on the IELTS. IELTS score of 6.0. That's actually quite high. Some other community colleges are 5.0 on the IELTS, or even 4.5. So you can see a range, but in general, they're lower than university. University preferences. I think this is an important one. University preferences meaning if you have a very strong, it's hard to describe this, but I have students come in that have a very strong dream, let's just say of going to Georgetown University in Washington. I want to study international relations and diplomacy. If you know that off the bat, it also depends on your academic achievement, but if you know that off the bat, you may be better off just going to the university or applying. You can apply, you can transfer from community college to universities, yes. But I would say that it's slightly more difficult to transfer from a community college to a university than just going directly to that university. If you can get in, that's the key point here. But while some students transfer from a community college to a really top university like Harvard, it's not that common. Okay? So again, if you have some dream in your mind of, I really want to study at this university, you should go for it. Okay? But if you're more flexible and you want to get comfortable in the U.S., improve your English, improve your confidence, get used to life in a different culture, and then think about your university choices after 2 years, then a community college is right for you. And the last point is one I've talked about already, adjustment to life in the U.S. Again, being in a community college helps a lot. You're going to have to get to the U.S., you're going to have to open a bank account, often buy new clothes in different weather, eat new foods, meet new people, get used to studying in a different environment. It's not easy. And being in a community college is not easy. It's still a rigorous academic environment, but it's a little bit more flexible. So you can get yourself on your feet, get used to living in the U.S., and study in a community college. So all of these factors are really up to you, up to the student, and help you determine what's right for you, community college or university. There's no, it's not one size fits all. It's really up to yourself, the students, and your families. What is the right thing for you? And you have to weigh each of these. Cost, your own English, your own abilities, and what you feel like doing. So I can't give an answer to this, but it's really up to you. And if you come into our offices or you work with somebody, they help you do these things and help you choose the right fit. A little bit about Access American Education. You see some of our photos here, but we and I are based in Ho Chi Minh City here in Vietnam. We've been here for about 3 years. We help students study in the U.S. Again, community colleges are the most common choice for Vietnamese students, but we also help students go to high schools, universities, master's degree programs if they want. But we really do a lot of the things that we talked about in these slides for students. Again, our goal is to make sure that you know what you're doing. You choose the right school. You know how to fill out the application. You know what documents you need. We help you get them to the schools. We correspond with the schools if you have any questions. And we help you over and over and over again practice for the U.S. visa. I do it personally. It is really important. Applying to the schools is one thing, but getting that visa is the biggest step. And so that's what we do. Not just for students in Vietnam. We also work with students in Russia and China and growing into other countries as well. So it's really, really important to work with somebody that you can trust. We know about American schools and American education. That's what we do best. You can see in these photos. We do events at schools, at high schools, and so we try to really build the trust and relationships with students. That's what we try to do. And it's quite fun. I really, really enjoy doing it, and I know all my colleagues at AAE really enjoy doing it because it's rewarding. No matter where you go, community college, university, high school, you get a good feeling. I get a good feeling personally when I help the students and the parents achieve their dreams of studying in the U.S. And it's cool. It's fun. I like doing it. And the last slide is my contact information. Again, my name is Mr. Jack. I'm located in Vietnam. My email address is here. My Skype, or as they say here, Skype, the username is here. So I encourage you to write these down. Please send me an email if you have questions, or you need more information, or you need some advice on schools or the process. I'm happy to help you. My counterpart in the U.S. is named Kate, Miss Kate. Her email is there. Her Skype information is there. I know she would be equally as happy to help you. She herself was an international student that came to the U.S. from Russia. So she knows the process. She knows what it takes. She knows how difficult it can be. So either one of us, you should feel free to contact. And there is the website at the bottom, virtualusacounselor.com. This is the second series of webinars that we're doing. The goal through this is to help students, to give them as much information as possible. That's what we're trying to do. And we encourage you to visit this website, virtualusacounselor.com. So with that, I'm going to look at some of the questions that I have. And if anyone is on the call and has any questions, please type them in now. I'm going to have a quick sip of water and I'm going to answer these. Okay. First question, is financial aid available at community college? Typically, no. Unfortunately, I don't know of any community college that offers financial aid to its students. Again, the costs are really, really low in some cases. But unfortunately, financial aid is not available. Excuse me. When you consider schools, even two schools in California, West Hills Community College and De Anza Community College, the tuition is $5,500 for the year. So it is affordable, especially when you consider comparing it to even some universities here in Vietnam. So the good news is it's very affordable. The bad news is financially it is not typically available at community college. Here's another question. How hard is it to get a job in the U.S. after community college? Do employers recruit at community colleges? It sort of depends. Again, if you transfer to a university after community college, even if you don't, it's sort of up to you and your skill set. It's hard for me to say, is it easy to get a job? It depends. There's certain areas or fields that are really highly in demand. Some community colleges focus in trades, as I mentioned, or very specific skills that might be in demand to get a job. So it depends really on your school and what you choose to study if you can get a job. Again, you can work for 1 year. It's called OPT, Optional Practical Training. And so you can work in the U.S. Legally for 1 year after you study. But staying long-term in the U.S. and getting a job, it's not easy, I'm going to be honest, for international students. It is not easy, but there's plenty of students I know that have got jobs. I would say in general, employers do not recruit or come look for students in community colleges, but there may be some in some fields of study. But it's often up to the student to really network and find a job where the company is willing to sponsor them long term. Again, it is not easy, but it is possible. So that's the answer on that. Here's a good question. Do community colleges have the same type of extracurricular activities and like clubs and sports that universities do? Yes. Yes. Sometimes they're different. Some American students are often commuting. So they come to the school and then they commute back to their home. So you may not have the evening type activities that you would see at a university, but certainly the clubs, the sports, charity, volunteer stuff, music. I mean, the same types of clubs that you would find at a university, you certainly would find at a community college. And often, what I've found in talking to my students that are at community colleges is that they're a little bit more open. So it's interesting. You go to a community college, you're with people that are, they're trying to get on their feet. They're trying to improve their confidence. They're trying to improve their English. So people are a lot more open and welcoming. And that's what I found in talking to. It's a smaller environment. People make a lot of friends right away. A lot of other international students at community colleges. So you get involved in clubs or international clubs, and you meet a lot of neat people right away. So that's one interesting thing to consider. So I would say yes, they do have the same types of clubs and sports that universities do, probably less in the way of nighttime activities, because you have some students that are commuting. Okay, let's see what's next. Can I still apply for the fall 2012 or spring 2013 semester? Yes, you can. Community colleges, as I said, are very, very flexible. So you can apply up until mid-July or even late July to start at the beginning of September, which is wonderful. Community colleges are so flexible about the process. I was just on the phone yesterday with one community college, Delaware County Community College in Philadelphia. They turn around the applications in 2 or 3 days. So you can apply, and in 1 week you'll know the answer. 1 week or less, you'll know your answer. It's very, very streamlined or simple. They make it as easy as possible to get accepted and get your I-20, which is the document you need to get the visa interview. After you get, so again, let me just talk through the process for a minute. You apply to the school. And a community college is very, very quick. 1 week or less, you'll have a decision. That's very different from universities. Then you'll get your I-20, depending on where you are. That might take a week or so to get the I-20, get it shipped to you. Then you have to schedule your appointment for the visa. It depends when you do it. Right now, it's about a 2 or 3 week backlog, maybe 2 weeks at the end. So we help you schedule the appointment, or however you choose to do it, but you have to schedule an appointment at the embassy for your visa. You cannot do that until you have your I-20 in your hand, and you should give yourself some time to practice. A lot of students say, oh, I want to have the visa appointment right away. Well, you go in and you're not ready. You haven't practiced, you don't have your story together, and then you fail. So in general, that's the process. It's very, very simple and easy at community colleges, which is wonderful. You can also go in the spring. A lot of them spring takes per year. Can you get a scholarship in community college? A few community colleges have small scholarships. Small. The numbers might seem small to some students, 500 or 1,000 USD. But you have to consider the costs. The costs are very, very low. So don't get fooled by, oh, I got a $15,000 scholarship and the tuition is $45,000. Don't simply look at the scholarship amount. Consider the cost of the school in total and what your family can afford. Most community colleges do not have scholarships. Do not. a few have small amounts. But don't get confused by, oh, I got this big scholarship, because sometimes you're paying, the tuition fees are so much higher that the scholarship doesn't really make a difference. So it's important to look at the total cost of the school. Can you recommend a community college in the state of New York? Well, there are many. A couple, one which I mentioned in the presentation already is Fulton Montgomery Community College. They have high school completion, which I talked about, which is a wonderful aspect. I would say two community colleges, just off the top of my head, in New York, Fulton Montgomery Community College and Jamestown Community College, which is located in the western part of New York State, close to Buffalo. These two community colleges are very, very active in Vietnam. Wonderful environments for international students. It makes the process very easy in terms of applying and receiving a visa, good support, and they are part of the SUNY system, State University of New York. And if you go to these schools, you can then transfer into one of those great universities that are part of the SUNY system. So that makes community colleges like these two, these are just two examples, really great choices, because like I talked about with the conditional guaranteed admission before, you complete the 2 years and there you go, you can get accepted into one of the SUNY schools. So these are two examples, but again, if you have more specific questions about if you want to be in a certain city or something like that, let me know, send me an email, and I'm happy to help you. So that wraps it up. Those are all the questions that I have. And again, I'm very happy to speak with everyone, and have a great night.